Today's discussion is part 2 of the session entitled The Various Types of Dreams. During this sequence, the class Prophetic Dreams will be discussed. While many people take no stock in night visions or dreams, or even what is known as prophecy, there are others who place great weight on divinely sent messages, also known as prophecy, and on their dreams as a form of divinely sent messages. They believe that God can and does speak to mankind in this manner, and I am one of them. Our Creator at times does permit us to see partly, because Paul said we see darkly, into his intended plan for our life, or that of another, through that which is called prophecy. Prophecy is one entryway into the revelation of God's will. It occurs when God reveals himself and his word to an individual by affecting his or her thought processes, causing the person to hear or see something in the spiritual realm. The most common expressions amongst those who have this experience is, I saw or I heard, notably the prophets within Holy Writ. Your dreams also have the capacity to give you access to prophetic revelation. When this happens within our dreams, it is known as 1/60th of what is called prophecy. For a dream, as is declared within ancient texts, is the 60th part of prophecy. Further, as with all prophecy, the revelation and the interpretation thereof does belongs to God. This includes our dreams and their interpretations. Joseph, within Genesis chapter 40, verse 8, rhetorically asks, do not interpretations belong to God? And then he boldly declared in Genesis chapter 41, verses 16 and 17, to Pharaoh, whom himself was considered a god, and to Pharaoh's servants, I can't. This is what Joseph said. He can't, but God can give Pharaoh the answer that he needs. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile. Question: what made Pharaoh accept and act upon Joseph, who was a Hebrew prisoner, interpretation of his dream instead of his wise counselors? So much so that after the interpretation, he made Joseph prime minister of Egypt. Now think about that question, and I'll come back to that question a little bit later, almost at the end though, so hang in there. Daniel also made it clear in Daniel chapter 2, when upon threat of death, he needed to not only interpret a king's dream, but also reveal what he had actually dreamt. While the king's spiritual advisors stated in Daniel chapter 2, verses 10 and 11, no one on earth can tell the king what he asked, can tell him what he dreamt. No other king, no matter how great and powerful, has ever asked such a thing of any magician, psychic, or astrologer. What you ask is difficult, your majesty. No one can tell you what you dreamed except the gods, and they don't live with humans. Then the king asked Daniel, can you tell me the dream and its meaning? Daniel, as Joseph, boldly proclaimed to king, no wise advisor, psychic, magician, or fortune teller can tell the king this secret, but there is a God in heaven, hallelujah, which reveals secrets. He will tell King Nebuchadnezzar what is going to happen in the days to come. And he went on This is your dream, the vision you had while you were asleep. Although the story of Joseph and Daniel are most familiar to us when on the subject of prophetic dreams, there are others who dreamed prophetic dreams also. For example, Abimelech in Genesis chapter 20, Jacob and Laban in Genesis chapter 31, Pharaoh's chief wine butler and his chief baker's dream in Genesis chapter 40, and an unnamed person in Judges chapter 7 verses 13 and 14, as well as King Solomon's dream in 1 Kings chapter 3, and Job chapter 7 verse 14. Joseph's dream, Mary's husband, in Matthew chapter 1 verses 19 and 20, was also a part of those who've had prophetic dreams, as well as certain wise men in Matthew chapter 2 verse 12, and Pilate's wife in Matthew chapter 27 verses 13 through 19, as well as others. Prophetic dreams do have the ability to convict, encourage, guide, instruct, make known future events, promote self-awareness, restrain from evil. They can even startle you, warn you, and reveal God's will for your particular life. It must also be said of prophetic dreams that they do not abolish nor substitute God's revealed will per sacred text, nor do they or should they replace the work, and I stress that, the work of the Holy Spirit, but they are an accessory to God's revelation over your life. I have said that because there is also a mention within the Bible of false prophets and false dream interpreters. See Deuteronomy chapter 13 and Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23, verses 27 through 32. But no matter if prophetic revelation or interpretations of dreams is correct, here's the key. If they attempt, the dream interpreter or the prophet, attempt to encourage you to follow other gods or promote synchronistic ideology or ideas, they are to be deemed false prophets and should be marked and considered as such. Because the revelations of your dreams should always enhance your relationship with Adonai Elohim and your citizenship status within his kingdom. Now, moving forward, the nuances of the class prophetic dreams are varied, and amid these types of dreams are the following, of which I will discuss during this session. Now, bear with me. The first is prophetically simple dreams. Another one is oneirovatic dreams, or what I call an OV dream. And then you have oneirovitic critical dreams, or an OVC dream. And there is a dream, oneirocritical excelsius dreams, or an OE dream. I got them out. While most prophetic dreams are primarily filled with symbols, there are prophetic dreams that are pretty much straightforward and plain. And I have termed this type of dream, as I mentioned, a prophetically simple dream. Okay? Prophetically simple dreams are not to be confused with prophetically ordinary dreams, because prophetically ordinary dreams are ordinary dreams, as mentioned in part 1 of this various types of dreams, because they are a result of the fears, anxieties, and thoughts that overwhelm the mind, and they have prophetic overtones. But on the other hand, prophetically simple dreams are purely prophetic. Prophetically simple dreams always have a message. They are clear-cut and they are directive. A few of the most common directives within these types of dreams are: come, go, do or do not, it is done, or leave. Even more, this type of dream, while affecting the dreamer's life, spiritually and literally, will oftentimes reveal circumstances of another's life, someone else's life. When this happens, the message given to the dreamer will always speak to those, the dreamer, notably the dreamer, to those who have the wherewithal to do something with the information. It will never be just an FYI for your information. It's something you have to do with it concerning another. And so it is with all forms of prophecy. God just doesn't give you a form of prophecy just so you can be, quote unquote, nosy. But you have the wherewithal to do something with it. And here's some examples. In Matthew chapter 1, verse 20, Joseph was instructed within a simple prophetic dream to not be afraid to wed Mary. Now, although Joseph's dream was prompt because of his overwhelming thoughts and concerns, which would seemingly categorize this dream as a prophetic ordinary dream, something that he caused to be dreamt due to his disconcert over Mary's pregnancy, the message was clearly prophetic, directive, and from God. He was told to not be afraid. Joseph, Mary's husband, also received another prophetically simple dream in Matthew chapter 2, verse 13, which directed him to get up and leave town. So that is a prophetic simple dream. And another one in Matthew chapter 2, verse 12, it tells of a prophetically simple dream given wise men who visited Joseph and Mary shortly after Jesus was born. We know them as the Magi. And they all had dreams. That's unusual. Everybody got the same dream. But the dream was directing them to not go the way of King Herod when leaving Bethlehem, so as to not unknowingly participate in Herod's evil scheme against the child Jesus. And as then, God can give you, all of us, a straightforward dream to warn you of your enemy's plots ahead of time, that you may avoid or thwart those plans. The primary purpose of this sort of dream, basically, is to lead and guide. Additionally, this type of dream should closely resemble real life situations, with the dream events actually being capable of happening. That's important. For example, Joseph was actually engaged to a woman named Mary. The Magi were actually leaving to go back home to their lands with plans to stop by Herod's palace. So it's important that it it relates to real life events. Another prophetic dream. On occasion, one may have a vision within a dream. Examples of these types of dreams are written within the books of Job, chapter 33, verses 15 through 18, Jeremiah, chapters 30 and 31, and Daniel, chapter 7. These types of dreams I have termed onirivatic dreams, or an OV dream, which means to prophesy by dreams. An OV dream should be regarded as a vision or husan. Husan is a Hebrew word for vision, which means in sum and substance, to see via dream and vision and then prophesy. Within those scriptures previously cited, you would notice a close similarity between a dream and a vision. While it is impossible to draw a sharp line of demarcation between a dream and a vision, for the two words are almost the same and are often used interchangeably within the Bible, both involve the viewing of images on the screen of one's mind. However, a dream is the flow of those images while sleeping, and a vision is the flow of those images while awake. Notwithstanding, as with most disciplines, there are always exceptions to the rule, and visions within dreams is one of those exceptions. And I credit this extraordinary anomaly, an OV dream, to a prophetic gifting one may have, allowing them direct access into prophetic insight via their dreams. Sidebar: 90% of your dreams are about and are for you. 10% are about and for another. Now, with that said, all the same, visions within dreams, notably OV dreams, for the most part, are given that God may reveal his truth to the seer in pictorial form, the seer or the dreamer in pictorial form, and the messages within those dreams, visions within those dreams, often affect people and communities, usually a body of people sharing some common interest. For example, members belonging to the same church or faith-based community, as well as family members or friends and co-workers and etc. This type of dream bears insight into the present day or near future events of others. Even more, some people who experience OV dreams are usually found consulting and are supporting local police crime units, for one may plainly see homicides, larceny, or other assaults taking place in their neighborhood or in their town before or after the event, the assault or the violation happened, and soon thereafter notice the violation reported in the news. On some level, this type of dream will affect the dreamer's life, requiring action on the part of the dreamer or the quote-unquote seer. Because if you're having this kind of dream, you may need to consider that prophetic gifting. This type of dream, just like a prophetically simple dream, should always closely resemble real life situations, with the dream events actually being capable of happening. For example, was a crime actually committed in the neighborhood or in the town? If you saw Elvin take Amanda's car, the question is, does Amanda even own a car? So reality thing, it has to fit reality. The next prophetic dream is termed, and here goes, onirivatic critical dream, or an OVC dream. this type of dream means to decipher, or interpret and prophesy by dreams. Now, while this dream shares common qualities with its previous counterpart, an OV dream, or visions within a dream, and this type of dream is considered a vision as well, it is not so clearly straightforward or clearly what I call so clearly lit. As Paul said, we see darkly. Because this type of dream, an OVC dream, has a great deal of symbolism. And this is illustrated within Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapters 7 and 8. Daniel had a dream and saw visions in his mind as he lay on his bed. And then he wrote the dream down and related the following summary of it. And journaling your dreams is a good thing. Anyway, Daniel said, and I quote, "I was looking in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. 4 great beasts were coming up from the sea, each different from one another. The first was like a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. I kept looking until its wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. And a human mind was also given to it." Now, when dreams are this intricately symbolic, even the most experienced dream interpreter, such as Daniel, will seek another interpreter with ability, skill, and experience in interpretation. And that's per verses 15 through 28. And he will seek this person to help with the interpretation, because it's always good to share. There's wisdom in the counsel of many. This sort of dream, an OVC dream, prophesies of distant future events and the times and seasons of that future era. And the events are usually of great historical significance. While this type of dream will affect the dreamer on some level, it is most definitely for those of a distant future. The vision, although accurate and true, is oftentimes, or the dream is oftentimes, beyond the dreamer's contemporary understanding. But he or she, the dreamer, is compelled to journal. Again, journaling is good. What they've seen as best they can. And moreover, since this type of dream is considered a vision, in that it is for and about others, the dreamer is usually led to secure his or her writings, that those of the distant future may read the vision at the appropriate time. Now, these types of dreams are usually dreamt by major prophets, also known as seers, or great visionaries, primarily those with the requisite understanding and wherewithal to do something with the information. Hence, I attribute this rare dream experience to one, namely the dreamer, who is a sensible, scrupulous, and high-principled prophet of God, as Daniel was a great prophet of God. And you have to be sensible with it because, well, it's a lot of things going on nowadays. Unfortunately, since the dream speaks of future events, there is no direct way to immediately tell if the prophecy of the prophet or the dreamer will prove without controversy accurate and true. for that particular prophecy, which is written in journal, will not unfold for the most part during the dreamer's lifetime. However, if the prophecy is so accurate that critics of the future era question the authorship and time of the writing, I believe this prophet's authenticity and his or her reckonings were remarkably clear, as Daniel prophecies are in his book. On another vein, if the prophecy shadows great concerns as to its clarity and accuracy, per the readers of that distant time, this prophet of dreams may have used other means to conjure his and her vision, and there are other means. I'll discuss the different dream interpreters in another session. The last prophetic dream discussed within this session is termed Oniricritical Excelsius dream, or an OE dream. And this means, this type of dream, it means to decipher or interpret and rise above. This is the highest or most elevated of all the prophetic dreams, the previous ones mentioned, as this sort of dream does prophesy life and or earth-changing events that are going to happen in the near future, and possibly the changes needed at present to survive or victor over those coming events. Since what is revealed usually affects a great number of people, possibly a nation. Now, get me. These types of dreams are usually dreamt by ruling dignitaries, high officials, notable visionaries, great leaders, and others who are well able to handle great responsibility, who are endowed with tremendous potential for achieving and affecting far-reaching ideas and policy. This leader's dream, the dignitary's dream, for the most and major part will unfold during the dreamer's lifetime, unlike an OV dream that would happen after the lifetime. Moreover, this type of dream can be straightforward with no symbolism as a prophetically simple dream, and requiring no dream interpreter, as was King Solomon's dream per 1 Kings chapter 3 verses 5 through 15. Sidebar, and yes, there are dreams that are self-interpreting, meaning the dream reveals its meaning within the dream. And this is also of God. However, if an OE dream contains a great deal of symbolism, for example, as was within Pharaoh's dream in Genesis chapters 41 and chapters 40 and 41, it will require the ability and the skill of an experienced dream interpreter. I like this. A God-appointed dream interpreter, specifically one who is brought forth for such a time as that, as Joseph was brought forth to interpret Pharaoh's dream at that time. The interpreter will appear and be made available to interpret the dream of the leader and to offer some wisdom, and if needed, a suggested course of action, which I include in my book, Suggested Course of Action, as to the direction the leader or the dreamer may possibly pursue. Now, this type of dream will not only affect the dreamer's life and those under his or her authority tremendously, but it may very well affect the life of the dream interpreter via an increase in authority, power, and or wealth, as what happened to Joseph because of his or her interpretation. An OV dream reveals two matters. Number one, it reveals future events, usually of historical importance, giving the dreamer time to strategically prepare for what's coming, maximizing the moment that God has allowed them to have. It is here where recurring dreams will often occur. Another sidebar, recurring dreams. An example of a recurring dream is found in Genesis chapter 41, when Pharaoh had two dreams back to back of horns and cows, as well as Joseph's two dreams in Genesis chapter 37, verses 5 through 9. Note, and you need to note this, the recurring dreams of each person, Pharaoh and Joseph, as well as others, validated the prophetic nature of their dreams. For one dream bore witness in support of the other dream. And this principle of two witnesses is referenced in the Bible, in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19, verse 15, and the book of John, chapter 8, verses 17 and 18. And in addition to recurring dreams validating one another as prophetic, when a dream is not interpreted or is not interpreted properly now, or if the message within the dream is not understood or readily acceptable by the dreamer, the quote-unquote memorandum of the dream is sent again and again. And so by this, recurring dreams let us know that there is a side of our behavior that may not be spiritually healthy, and our habits of doom are echoing within our lives. If, however, some aspect of your disposition does change, your dream may repeat itself, except there will be some new information in it with respect to the change. And that new information may be used as a type of feedback to gauge your progress of transformation. If a complete change has occurred, those particular recurring dreams will cease. And the beautiful aspect of recurring dreams is that they are a very good example amongst many of God's love, grace, and long-suffering towards us. Now, the second point of an OE dream reveals, and this matter is especially to spiritual and secular leaders, to the leaders now. This is especially to a spiritual and a secular leader. This sort of dream reveals how you, leader, in your everyday life may have set aside wisdom and went your own way. You may not even be aware of the actual condition of your relationship with those you are leading. Perhaps because of pride or some other transgressions. An example of this was King Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 27. We by human nature, can often focus so much so on our outer experiences that oftentimes the outer does not match our inner being. Thus, the Holy Spirit, or our conscience, by way of our dreams, places into the forefront that which we've been avoiding and reveals the truth of our heart, our inner being. Thus, this kind of prophetic dream, an OE dream, convicts leaders of their current path and gives you a peek at some hidden motives you may have, and will and can provide you with new direction if you would but heed the warnings of your dreams. See Daniel chapter 4, verses 24 through 37. And favorably, leader, this kind of dream is a sign of God's nearness and concern that he is still there with you to build up or tear down and to comfort. His illuminating grace, also known as the free and unmerited favor and beneficence of God, will give you another opportunity to hear and act on the messages within your dream. Your dreams can have a powerful effect on you or anyone who dare to acknowledge them as significant insight within their life. People from all walks of life, from all lifestyles, can benefit from their dreams as they explore deeper into understanding them and their meanings. Now, on the other side of all of this, of all the dreams and prophecy, never make a major decision in your life based solely on a dream, but let everything be established with 2 or 3 witnesses. As well, let there be an established validation from God, a good and sensible validation from God. For example, God will never tell or lead you to kill your neighbor or to kill yourself. He will never tell you that there are many gods to worship. God will never tell you to worship dead people or to pursue an adulterous relationship. His word, per Holy Writ, does not validate such actions. So when you're interpreting your dream, make sure the principles and the validation goes along with the word of God. And moreover, it would be dangerous to center your entire life on dreams. For dreams may lead men astray, as with any spiritual discipline taken to extreme, out of balance, above and beyond boundaries set by God. This principle is found in Ecclesiastes 10, verse 8. Nevertheless, that does not negate the fact that God does speak to us through our dreams. Prophecies, healings, instructions on how to handle our various affairs reflect some of the wisdom given within our dreams. Sometimes the most meaningless, or what seems to be to us the most meaningless dream, will help change your life in ways you would have never thought possible. Dreams have played a major role in the human experience in many ways, for they are direct links to the inspirational and prophetic undercurrents that flow through all of us from heavenly places. Now, back to my first question. Why did Pharaoh have such confidence in Joseph's interpretation of his dream? When a prophetic dream has been correctly interpreted, there is usually a deep sense of certainty of the accuracy of the message and a spirit of gratitude that follows. To you who have taken this challenge to deeply explore the significance of dreams. I invite you to join me for the next session, part 3, entitled, Does God Really Communicate with Humankind via Our Dreams? If you have any questions or comments, as always, feel free to email me at dreamweaverministries@yahoo.com or visit my website at www.idodreams.us. See you next time. God bless and pleasant dreams.